A large dark demon attacks a young knight, but he somehow manages to dodge its attacks. He rushes towards the demon to attack him with their fate left unseen. In the present, a hooded man walks around in the king's town Orvelia as he looks up to his castle. Inside the castle, two young knights are practicing sword fights among them. Claus, their leader, remains undefeated as his young friend Castle fails to attack him. The other knights tell Castle, who is a recruit training to become a guardian knight, to work on his stamina as he is being trained by the best knight, Claus. As they are walking in the town, they come across the hooded man, who is actually a dark elf. The townsfolk are shocked too and ask the knights to do something about it, but they reply the dark elf hasn't done anything to be thrown out. Castle meets Fry, his childhood friend and a priestess for the Holy Church of Orvelia. She tells him how glad she is that he is working hard to become a knight, but he is disheartened that he is still an apprentice. The king, meanwhile, is let know of the recent demon sightings near the jungle, which horrifies him. He says they can't afford to let the demon attack their town again after 100 years. The dark elf is led into the castle by one of the council members, much to the guards' dismay. The council tries to come up with a plan to stop the demons, as Counselor Moriham introduces them to the dark elf, Rahit. He has hired Rahit to investigate the rumored activities, as he belongs to a mercenary group called Black Edge who works for rewards. The other council berates him for letting a dark elf enter the castle, but the counselor lets them know there isn't any rule to stop them either. As the knights have their lunch, Claus lets them know that they will be the scouting team going to the forest to check on the demonic activities, except Castle, who is still training. A young boy in the jungle cries for help as he is shot dead with arrows by the demon soldiers with glowing red eyes. Rahit, back at his place, discusses his plan with other elves to overtake the Orvelia as an act of revenge for having been discriminated against over the ages. Meanwhile, the scouts have left and many days pass by, but none of them has returned. The scout teams are still in the forest when suddenly they are attacked by the demons. They somehow put up a fight against them, killing some, but demons succeed in killing most of them, including Claus's friend. Claus asks his other friend to go back to the castle to let others know of what he has seen. Claus is able to defeat many demons as a horde of them comes towards him. The scout lets the king and the council know of the demons. The king orders the soldiers to prepare for an attack, but Moriham says to wait and let the Black Edge go first, much to everyone's dismay. Castle tells Fry that he will go to the forest in search of Claus, but she tries to stop him. When she sees he is determined to go, she too decides to join him in search of Claus. As the duo walk in the forest, they come across the dismembered bodies of the knights. He is sad to find one of them as his friend and finds Claus's shield. Suddenly, an arrow shoots over as Castle saves Fry. A group of demons attacks them with arrows as Castle dodges the attacks with his sword and runs with Fry. But they are stopped by a witch. She attacks him and Fry, using her staff, dodges the demons' arrows. As more demons arrive, Rahit along with other elves shows up, killing many of them. Rahit engages in a fight with the witch as other elves kill the demons. The witch promises to meet them again and vanishes. Castle thanks Rahit, but Rahit says not to thank him as he is hired to kill the demons. They leave as Fry heals Castle's wound. The two are stunned to see two more people showing up. The girl introduces herself as Cleo, a sorceress, and her bodyguard Roy, who calls himself her babysitter. Cleo asks them to follow her. She takes them near a cliff where Roy tells them that Dominicus, the sorcerer from Tower of Sage, has asked them to bring them there. Cleo casts a sigil which takes them above to the tower. They greet Dominicus, whom they have met many years ago. They ask why they have been summoned there. Dominicus takes them to a room where they see Claus, who is unconscious, healing. Claus wakes up and is happy to meet them, and Castle lets him know of their encounter with the witch and Rahit's group. Dominicus asks them to leave and let Claus rest to heal up. Cleo looks after Fry and they bond. Fry goes outside to meet Castle, who says he needs to be stronger to defeat the demons. Rahit goes back to the castle with the proof that he has killed the demons. Moriham says it's time to make the Dark Elves an ally like their past king Kyle to defeat the demons. Moriham too wants to become the Chancellor and asks Rahit to work for him. Dominicus calls for Castle and Fry. Dominicus lets Castle know that he is the son of King Kyle, who defeated the Dark Lord Angmund 100 years ago, and only he can wield his father's holy sword Aea, much to Castle's surprise and confusion. To buy food from the town, thanks to them being Mortham's contact. They say because of the ancient Dark Elfilia, the community of Dark Elves are being hated in the town. Dominicus tells Castle that he knew Kyle before he became a king. Kyle used to be good friends with his half-sister Ilia. Kyle, being a royal, always wanted to do something for his citizens and care about them. Ilya promises to stay by his side with her knowledge on techno-magic. And later he met and fell in love with Arlette, Castle's mother. The king and nobles were against their relationship, and soon the demons invaded the town and destroyed everything. Kyle and his army defeated the demons, and he became the king after his father's death. He allied with the elves and the orcs to defeat the demons. Kyle learned that Arlette was pregnant. The Princess of Light Lua presents Kyle the Holy Sword Yei to defeat the Dark Lord. Ilya, using her techno-magic, tried to create another sword, but that enraged the citizens as it was an act against Lua. She completed her study but was killed by the demons before she could reach King Kyle. Kyle and the Dark Lord went into battle against each other, but they weren't found except for the Holy Sword. The demonic activities stopped and every demonic activity turned silent and Marduk, Dark Lord's companion, was exiled. Kyle's army sealed the Holy Sword and Ilya was found guilty for her act, casting out the Dark Elves. Castle still is confused, questions how his mother could live 100 years and give birth to him. Dominicus explains that they deduced Marduk might be alive and will wait for the next nocturnal event to resurrect the Dark Lord again, and only Kyle's bloodline can wield the sword. They decided to put Arlette into a deep sleep, and almost after 100 years she woke up and gave birth to Castle. But demons soon attacked her village and killed her. Dominicus reveals he has been secretly looking after him for all these years, and recent activities are all signs of the Dark Lord's return. Dominicus tells him to break the seal to get the sword, and as he can't leave the tower, asks Cleo and Rio to accompany them in their journey. Castle tells Claus of his origin and is tasked to retrieve the Holy Sword, and Claus wishes him good luck. Cleo is very excited for her journey as they leave the tower. When they are about to enter the forest of Elidora, a horde of demons unexpectedly attacks them on their way. As they prepare to fight back, Cleo asks them to stand back as Rio swiftly goes through the demons, slashing all of them. More demons appeared to shoot Rio with arrows, but someone behind them shot them first, killing the demons. It's an elf girl. Castle thanks her and introduces himself, and she asks them to follow her to meet her master Lorraine, who can help them find the Holy Sword. While following the princess, they came across a giant tree monster whom the elf calls a Treant. She introduces herself as Celine, a princess elf. They are surprised to hear some voices asking them to leave immediately. A baby Treant starts following them. They lose Celine and follow a wrong path to reach a dead end. The jungle closes its way as the baby Treant reaches them. The Treant asks them to follow him and takes them back to Celine. They continue their journey with a baby Treant whom they start calling Chibi. They rest for a while and Castle plays with the Chibi. The group discusses that they need to find the Holy Sword soon to put an end to the demons' attacks before the Dark Lord arrives. A sudden noise disrupts them as the ground shakes. They run for their safety and the trees start to fall. A giant Treant arrives furiously and falls down. They are all attacked by a giant tentacled demon. One of its tentacles grabs the baby Treant as the team prepares to attack. They attack the demon while trying to save the baby Treant, but fail. The monster grabs Castle by one of its tentacles. As he brings Castle near his mouth, the baby Treant attacks that tentacle, dropping Castle. In retaliation, the monster kills the baby Treant brutally, leaving only his seed. This shocks the entire team, and an enraged Castle rushes towards the demon, slashing the tentacles, stabbing and killing it. He continues to attack the demons furiously in rage as Celine calms him down as Master Lorraine arrives at the scene. Castle calms down and washes his face off. Master Lorraine tells him that she can't unseal the Holy Sword right away as Castle needs to be more than a rightful heir. The power of the sword could kill him. Castle gets agitated, but Lorraine asks them to follow her to her castle to rest. The group back at her place decide to bury the baby Trent's seed. The group discuss that Lorraine would be wasting time not to unseal the Holy Sword. Master Lorraine asks Celine if Castle is a good person and should have the power of the sword. Celine, being indecisive after seeing Castle killing that demon violently, says she doesn't know and goes out. She sees Castle crying near the place where they buried the seed, repenting that he couldn't save him and should have been stronger. The seed sprouts a leaf which surprises both Castle and Celine. The next morning, Master Lorraine asks Celine the same question, to which she says before getting to know Castle, she didn't trust any human and was indecisive because he has lost control in himself, but she now trusts him. She believes he can wield the sword now. Fry, Rio, and Cleo too say they are with him on his journey. Lorraine undoes one part of the seal on the Holy Sword, casting a magical spell on the place where it's sealed and on Castle. Lorraine says that Castle will have the power of the sword within him, and they need to visit the Mountain of Orcs too to unseal the second seal too. They sense that more demons have arrived. They see that more of the same demons have arrived who have killed the baby Trant. But now Castle alone defeats the demons without losing his control. Castle thanks Celine, and they bid their goodbyes. Back at the Orvelia, Moriham lets Rahit know that the council have decided to agree on hiring his mercenary group Black Edge to defeat the demons. Moriham makes Rahit a knight and wants him to be better than the ordinary knights to make other counselors look like a fool. The group embark on their way to the Orcs Mountain, and Rio tells them to gather more information and supplies from the nearby villages. They encounter the witch demon again. She attacks them again using her magic and reveals that the demons aren't with her. Castle breaks her claws as she realizes he has grown more stronger, the same power she saw in Kyle before. Cleo lets her know that he is indeed Kyle's son. The witch is surprised, saying the holy sword is Lua's curse and warns Castle not to become Lua's puppet as she vanishes again. They are tired of walking to meet the chief of the orcs, but Cleo is excited to see new places. They visit a town and see many varieties of foods available. They start eating foods to resume their energy. Cleo convinces them for a little sightseeing. They start buying themselves gifts and soon run out of money. Cleo tells them they can make money in the town by helping a restaurant. Rio, Cleo, and Fry help in the restaurant, but Castle isn't asked to do anything. Cleo uses her fire magic in the kitchen and accidentally burns it. They spend the night on the streets. Cleo talks about her childhood to Fry as she may have accidentally burned her house, killing her mother. Fry suggests that she should practice her magic to master it. The next morning, Castle wakes up to find out that Roy has been missing. Cleo comes up to them and says that she has found a new job for them outside the town at a restaurant of Madame Wolf. Roy sells one of his blades in the town. Wolf makes them work hard in her restaurant. At night, they stay at the restaurant and Madame Wolf cooks for them. She forbids Cleo from using her fire magic, as she tells that the barren town once was used to be a crowded place, but a war turned it barren, and she holds magic responsible for it. The armored demons soon show up there, and Castle goes on to fight them. Cleo too joins him to fight the demon, and Fry protects Madame Wolf. The demons outnumbered them, and soon one of them tries to kill Wolf. Castle asks Cleo to use her magic, but she reminds him that Wolf asked her not to use it. Wolf, realizing that she shouldn't stop Cleo, asks her to use it to kill the demons. She finally puts her fire magic to good use to defeat the demons. They happily bid their goodbyes to Wolf as Roy joins them too, showing he made some more money back in the town. They continue on their journey. Dark elves are battling demons, swiftly killing all of them. Rahit goes back to the castle to let know of his success. The news spread among the castle that the Dark Lord will appear soon. Rahit meets Princess Scarlet. She is the commander-in-chief of the knights and asks Rahit to become an ally. Rahit back at his place lets other elves know that they are accepted among the knights and they can quickly defeat them by earning their trust. Next morning, Rahit joins the knights' meeting, much to the dismay of other knights. They learn that demons are near the forest of Eli Dora and ask Rahit about his opinion. He suggests sending scouts first. Rahit, along with his Black Edge team, continues to march towards the forest, as the town folks are much more friendly towards them now. But 3 commoners attack the young elf, Tam, but Rahit comes to his rescue. A young girl comes to help them, which surprises Tam. Rahit doubts it's one of the counselors, Ziero, who attacked Tam. Moriham too agrees with him. Rahit gets a knife from his sister, Ripon, who says it belongs to one of the attackers, which have Ziero's emblem, clearing his doubts. Late at night, Rahit and Ripon confront Ziero, who accepts he had sent those men. Begging for his life, Ziero and his father apologizes to Rahit, who gives them a warning and lets them go. Meanwhile, the witch meets a weak demon figure, whom she addresses as Malduk, the one who raised the Dark Lord. After learning that Maria, the witch, couldn't find the holy sword, he turns to his youthful age to do it himself. Castle and his friends are still on their way to the Orcs Mountain and reach a town for resupply. They learn that the town is destroyed by demons, and they decide to help the townsfolk rebuild their houses. They meet a young sad girl who runs away. Fry later meets some little girls, and one of them is that little girl, Elise. She runs away from Fry, but Fry hugs her to try to heal her sadness. Fry tells her friend that she wants to stay there for the night. She requests the mayor to stay with the girls to cheer them up. She befriends little girls doing various playful activities. She learns from Elise that the demons killed her mom and breaks down crying, hugging Fry. They bond and make food for the people. The town's mayor requests Fry to stay there, pleased that she is very friendly with the children and brings a smile to their faces. Cleo overhears this and is concerned that Fry might leave them, as she believes Fry is the one holding the group together. The next morning, Fry along with her friends have decided to depart, choosing to remain with the castle's group. Fry goes to bid Elise goodbye, but Elise runs away. She follows her to a shed where Elise locks her up. As Castle goes to find her, he meets with Elise, who very sadly takes him to the shed. But on their way, they are attacked by demonic giant worms. Castle puts up a fight with it, but the worm dodges his attacks. Fry listens through the ground and warns Castle that another worm is moving towards him, but he is busy fighting the first worm. She manages to break the lock from the shed and uses her magic to hold onto the worm as Castle slays the demons. She uses her magic staff again to push the second worm as Castle kills that too. Elise, seeing how brave Fry is, apologizes to her for locking her because she wanted her to stay back. The mayor gives them enough bread for their journey as Fry promises Elise she will meet her again. The group gets back on their way as they tease Cleo. The group arrives at the village, which was destroyed by the demons. As Castle walks up to a man, he attacks him and Roy fights back. Roy tells Castle it's the undead and slices his head off. But more undead soon run towards them to attack as Cleo uses her fire magic to burn them. They take refuge in a nearby house. They meet Johan, owner of the house. Johan tells them when demons attacked the village, some villagers ran away but some stayed back. The dead villagers soon came back from the dead acting strangely and started killing the remaining people, leaving him the sole survivor of the village. Fry takes Elise's name when she sees a flower of which she was fond of, as Johan recognizes the name. He tells them he is her father. They let him know she is okay. Johan asks if the group agrees to spend the night, and he will tell them the direction towards the Orcs Mountain. The group decides to stay as they will have an upper hand at surviving the undead during the day. Cleo says the undeads are controlled by the demons and they helped in the war 100 years ago. During the night, Castle wakes up to a noise to discover that Johan is talking to an undead woman, keeping her trapped in the basement. Castle goes back to his room where he tells Roy about the undead he saw. Roy decides to confront Johan, who reveals that it is his wife, Lisa, whom he has captured. He is still in denial that his wife is dead and is trying to cure his wife so that they, and Elise, can be back together as a family. The group makes him face the reality that his wife is gone, but he still has Elise. He realizes his mistake and goes back to the basement trying to reason with his undead wife. Roy asks him to kill it, but he cries. They hear a noise and see hordes of undead have appeared in front of the house. They start killing the undeads. Johan meanwhile pulls himself up and beheads his undead wife. Castle and his friends successfully kill the remaining undead outside the house. The next morning, Johan goes back to the village where the group met Elise and he reunites with his daughter. The Black Edge are now treated as heroes for their recent fights against demons, and the citizens of Orvelia are now more open to them. Claus, now in his good health, is back at the castle and greets Rahit. He thanks him for saving Castle and Fry back in the forest. But Rahit ignores his gratefulness. Scarlet reports the news to her sick father, the king. The king is more concerned about Morihum's connections to dark elves and advises Scarlet to be careful of them. Scarlet prepares her army for the arrival of the Dark Lord. She tells Rahit that she fears that she couldn't live up to her father's legacy. Tam searches for that girl who tied a scarf on his wound and finally meets her. She introduces herself as Sheila and befriends him. Scarlet lays out her plan and organizes a scouting team to investigate a place that she suspects the demon army will use to resurrect the Dark Lord as they did 100 years ago. Rahit's request that the Black Edge be placed on the vanguard, and she agrees. Tam meets Sheila again and gets to know her more, and they enjoy their day, as his dark elf companion watches this from far. Back at their place, other elves belittle him for meeting a human girl, and Rahit asks him to rethink his desires. Ripon later asks Tam what he wants to do with his life. Tam replies that he wants to be happy, and Ripon replies that her happiness belongs to her brother achieving his goals, as he is the one who got her through their tough childhood days. She tells Tam that if he wants to leave the Black Edge, she won't stop him. But if he does something that risks her brother's mission, she will kill him. Tam agrees, and next morning he meets Sheila and tells her how Orvelia's soldiers were cruel to them for ages and killed his mother. He has decided to stop meeting Sheila and focus on the mission to change the world's point of view on the Dark Elves. Moriham is happy that Black Edge is considered the hero now. Meanwhile, Castle and his friends arrive at a cliff which they call the Red Valley, home of the Orcs. Malduk laughs at the humans' cry as he waits for the right moment to raise the Dark Lord again. He remembers his time as a sorcerer for the Kingdom of Grey, where he researched the magic of necromancy reviving the dead. After the death of the king, he tricked the princess and used his dark magic to bring the king back, but as an undead. He was exiled for that action. Angry, he pledged allegiance to Angmund and dedicated himself to the Dark Lord's resurrection with Maria. Castle and his friends are still along the Red Valley and hear the noise of orcs. One blue orc is fighting against some orcs and barely could defeat them. Another orc comes to his rescue as Rio says they are being attacked by undead orcs. The group comes to their rescue and Cleo uses her fire magic to defeat the undead orcs. The big orc, who introduces himself as Kaula, thanks them and says that he foresaw the arrival of Castle through his prophetic dreams. He introduces himself as the shaman of the orcs, and the other orc with him is his apprentice Dale and explains about his prophetic dreams. Castle says that he needs the help of Chief Itola to undo the seal on the Holy Sword EIA, but learns that Itola died and his successor Sieg has been left in charge of the orc clan. Orcs also say that they have learned humans are working with the demons as a human sorcerer came and took some orcs and turned them undead. Castle reassures them that they have got nothing to do with that and demands a meeting with their chief Sieg. They only take Castle along with them, leaving the other three in the valley. Some more orcs arrive and get into an argument with the three, and they are held captive. Meanwhile, at the orc village, the orcs are angry at the sighting of a human. Castle meets their chief and requests him to undo the Holy Sword seal. Sieg challenges Castle for a fight to prove his worth. But Kaula stands up on behalf of Castle to fight Sieg, as he believes Castle is their savior. Castle tries to reason with Sieg, asking him not to indulge in a fight. Sieg tries to scare Castle, but seeing him unafraid, is impressed. Sieg reveals that if Castle is truly the inheritor of the Holy Sword, he has to prove his worthiness at the Holy Shrine, and if he fails, Castle and his friends will be executed. Castle is taken to the Holy Shrine by Kaula as his friends are held captive. Castle enters the Holy Shrine alone and sees an altar. He hears many voices who ask him to show his heart. He starts listening to his mother's voice and follows, where he sees a vision where his mother is alive and makes him lunch, and he is living a happy life. Orcs outside are laughing as they think Castle won't come out alive, but Cleo believes he will as he has already unlocked the first part of the seal. Back in his vision, he sees he is playing with Mother, and no demons have plagued the world. Soon he realizes he is living a dream and is trapped, reliving the same dream again. He confronts his visions and decides to break free of the illusions. The illusion, taking his mother's appearance, asks him to stay back and live the dream he always saw, a happy world with no demons and his mother being alive. But he willingly chooses to return to the real world to defeat the demons and save his friends and loved ones, fulfilling his destiny. He bids farewell to his mother and comes back to reality. Yatola's spirit congratulates Castle on passing the test and gives him the seal, wishing him luck. Kaula and Castle come back from the shrine. Sieg, being impressed, undoes the second seal. Unfortunately, Malduk also senses the power of the Holy Sword. Sieg changes his views and agrees to fight alongside Castle. Malduk suddenly appears in front of them, demanding the Holy Sword. Sieg rushes towards Malduk but is attacked by his magic, weakening him. Dale attacks Malduk, but he reflects the attack back at him, but Sieg takes it, killing him. Malduk starts attacking the group, but Castle holds off his attack. He realizes the power of the sword is coming within Castle. Castle attacks Malduk, but only manages to slice his hairs. Malduk retaliates by blowing up the group, injuring Fry. Enraged at Fry being hurt, Castle furiously attacks Malduk several times and accidentally unleashes holy power. Malduk flees away as Castle faints from exhaustion. Castle is recovering from his injuries. Fry decides to write a letter to Claus, letting him know all the events that have happened on their way so far, starting with their encounter with Celine, the elf princess, how they came across the baby Tran who helped them get back to their way, sacrificed himself to save Castle from a demon, and Castle killing the demon, and Master Lorraine unlocking the first part of the seal. Cleo checks up on Castle's fever and tells Fry that Kaula said he should rest to heal properly. By seeing Fry writing a letter, she too decides to write a letter to Dominicus. Meanwhile, Celine lets her Master Lorraine know that the demon near their forest has been defeated and shows concern on how Castle is doing. Fry continues to write, resuming from their fight with demons at Madame Volf's place, meeting Elise, learning about the existence of undead and Johann, and reaching the Orcs Mountain to finally unlock the second seal. This is the moment when Malduk attacked and Castle was hurt using the power of the Holy Sword. Fry finishes her letter. Cleo says not to be upset as the entire world's fate is on Castle's shoulder now. Fry loves the optimism of Cleo, and they hug. Claus reads the letter, and is warm-hearted by their journey. Back at the king's town, the kids now, inspired by the Black Edge, are idolizing them as they march towards the castle. Princess Scarlet summoned them, saying she will be accompanying them towards the Galua Plains, to head straight towards the point where they believe the Dark Lord would be resurrected again. Scarlet, seeing the Black Edge being overconfident and brash, requests a training match with Azal, a member of the Black Edge, to bring them to coordinate. Azal thinks she is no match for her but gets easily defeated by Scarlet. Other counselors question Moriham about why he is so supportive of the Black Edge, but Moriham assures them that he is doing it with good intentions. Scarlet decides to accompany the expedition against the wishes of Belle, Royal Chancellor of Orvelia. Claus walks up to Scarlet, letting her know of Castle's true identity and that he too is fighting demons and on his way to the Holy Sword. Scarlet puts him in charge of the knights while she is away. Rahit says everything is going according to his plan, as once they are away, Moriham will have the opportunity to usurp power from the king. The next morning, the expedition begins. Everyone in town wishes the Black Edge good luck. Sheila too tries to bid goodbye to Tam, but he ignores her, breaking her heart. Malduk wonders who that man was who has the power of the Holy Sword, but Maria says she doesn't know anything about Castle. The scouting team takes rest for the night as dark elves lay out their plans. Scarlet attempts to befriend Ripon, but she shows little interest and ends up saying that a privileged rich kid like Scarlet wouldn't understand the hardships dark elves have gone through for so many years. The next morning, only the Black Edge explores the Galua Plains, leaving the Orvelia army behind, as Rahit and other dark elves go down to check the place out. Tam curiously touches a symbol on the ground, screams in pain, and dies. Rahit checks on his pulse. Suddenly, Malduk appears right in front of the Black Edge. Scarlet senses something is off with the Black Edge's behavior. Maria sees Malduk missing from his place and wonders what he is up to. Malduk laughs as Tam, now an undead, kills Azal, shocking every dark elf. The undead Tam starts killing other Black Edge members too on the order of Malduk, but Ripon beheads him. Malduk, boasting that they are no match for him, starts killing the Black Edge members one by one using his magic. The Black Edge member stands no chance against Malduk as he continues to slaughter other members, and gleefully laughs. Maria too teleports herself there, as Rahit engages in a fight with Malduk. But Maria stops Malduk right at the moment he is about to kill Rahit, warning him that the soldiers are coming. The Orvelia army comes at the moment and is shocked to see only Rahit as the sole survivor, leaving Ripon too. Meanwhile, Castle awakens from a dreadful dream. He learns from Fry he has been in a coma for 2 weeks after his fight with Malduk. Castle wants to continue his journey, but Rio and Kala show concern that he lost control again during the fight. Castle goes to the place where the fight took place and laments the power he has within deriving from the Holy Sword and how he has been reckless. Kala suggests Castle needs to strengthen his mind and heart to properly wield the Holy Sword. Castle tells Fry he needs to wield the sword properly next time to defeat Malduk and stop the Dark Lord, and he thanks Fry for being by his side. Next morning, as the group departs from the Orc Mountain, Kala warns Fry that he had another prophetic dream that Castle could die in his battle against the Dark Lord, asking Fry to stay with him. She promises she will. On their way to Windland Snow Mountain, Fry is fetching some water, and a lady comes to her inquiring where she has been. Fry says she mistook her for someone else, but she is adamant. She also acts like she knows Cleo and Rio too. But soon she apologizes for her mistake and introduces herself as Reina, a mercenary. Roy says he has heard of her name and leaves, but she joins them, saying she would love to show them around the village. Reina takes an instant liking to Roy and advises Castle and his friends to hide their Orvelian identities as the villagers don't like them. She claims herself to be from the Empire and asks them to say the same. They go to a village of dark elves, where Reina suggests the group share the room with her. A string of mysterious disappearances causes a disruption among the villagers. Reina tells Castle and his friends on how the dark elves and humans have gone missing and someone is kidnapping them. The villagers blame the humans for this, but learns humans have gone missing too. They hear about another one going missing and leave to search for him. Roy suggests they should go away, but Castle says he can't run away from this situation and needs to help the villagers. Roy reluctantly agrees. The team searches around the nearby forest to search for clues. Castle hears a noise and goes to inquire about it. He accidentally falls inside a cave along with Reina. Inside the dark cave, Reina says she has been hired by the villagers to find the missing ones and asks what Castle is doing there. Castle lets her know about his journey to unlock the Holy Sword and that he is the son of King Kyle. Meanwhile, Cleo, flying on her staff while searching for clues, gets trapped in a spider's web and faints from a smoke blown on her face. Reina notices a shoe inside the cave and runs inside to search for more clues. They are horrified to find the missing persons trapped inside cocoons. Castle and Reina suddenly see a giant spider demon behind them, who has been kidnapping people from the village, and Cleo is among its new victims. The spider attacks Castle as he dodges its attacks, but he gets hit by the spider. The injured Castle falls down as the spider shoots webs at Reina, holding her in a cocoon. Cleo tries to open her ties but falls down. As the spider is about to kill Cleo, Castle stands up, grabs his sword and slices the spider from the center, killing it. Castle and Reina save the victims as they and their families are thankful to them. With the villagers safe, Reina bids farewell to Castle and his friends as they continue on their journey. Scarlet's army sets up a base camp at Elise's village as she thanks the mayor for giving her army a place to stay. Rahit is still recovering. Scarlet learns from the mayor that Castle and his group visited that village mere days ago and defeated the demons terrorizing the village, surprising her. Scarlet's second in command, Demia, suggests that they leave Rahit back and bring some more army back from Orvelia, but Scarlet refuses. One of the knights goes back to the castle to lay out the information that Black Edge has lost all the men except Rahit. This breaks the confidence of Moriham and his desire to become a chancellor. The news spreads throughout the town as it breaks the townsfolk hearts too, who rooted for them. Rahit awakens and Scarlet informs him that the entire Black Edge was wiped out, leaving him the sole survivor. Angry, Rahit leaves the camp and breaks down crying, reminiscing about Malduk's actions. In an attempt to find Malduk, he tries to run away, but he is too weak to walk. Scarlet finds him before he can leave, causing an angry Rahit to reveal that he never cared for Orvelia, and his hatred towards the town for killing his family and tormenting them for ages, and only wanting to rule over its citizens as a revenge. He faints after lashing out. Scarlet brings back Rahit, who is still in shock after learning that Orvelia was oppressing dark elves. She, thinking that she hasn't done anything so far to improve Orvelia's situation, sits alone as Elise visits her, and talks about Fry and how she was cheered up by making her cook. This small act of innocence puts Scarlet into a good mood. Rahit wakes up at night and tries to leave the camp again. Surprisingly, he comes across Maria. Rahit asks her why she saved him and tries to attack her, but Maria takes him down. Maria says the pendant he wears once belonged to Ilya. She tells him that Ilya was a good person and that he could be her descendant. Ilya wanted to save Kyle while making a false holy sword, causing Orvelia to hate her and discriminate against dark elves. She tells Rahit to go to the Tower of the Sage and find the sword she had created. As Castle and his friend continue their journey, they pass through some rocky plains. They are suddenly attacked by an undead as Roy swiftly beheads it. He recognizes the undead but rebuffs the team when they ask if anything is wrong. At night, when Fry and Cleo are sleeping, Castle asks him again, to which Roy tells his childhood story, that when he was a homeless child, he was taken under guidance by Zayed, who fed him and later asked him to work for his mercenary group. The group frequently helps the villagers with small works for money, as they are less risky. Zayed often helps young boys, raises them, and teaches them. One day, Orvelia asked the group to investigate demonic activities at Galua Plains. Zayed accepted the mission as the pay was good. But when they reach there, one of them goes missing. When Zayed goes in search of him, he too doesn't return for a long time. The rest of the members concerned leave in search of them. After a while, Roy notices the captain on the barren land. The captain says there was no need to come for him and accidentally steps on the trap, along with one of the members who turns undead. Zayed, who has now turned undead, attacks and kills the remaining members except Roy, who runs for his life and faints. He wakes up to find himself at the Tower of Sage. Dominicus says he rescued him and allows him to stay at the tower to continue his research on the undead in a favor he would need later. Roy, after completing his story, understands the favor was to make him Castle's travel companion. The next morning, Castle asks Rio if his old undead captain could be nearby, as he needs to put him to rest. Cleo suggests making a loud noise to lure the undead. As they are back on their way, Roy comes face to face with the undead Zayed. Roy rushes towards his old captain with his sword, but his captain is still very strong. Zayed's attack makes Roy's sword fly off, but Roy brings out his knives and runs towards him. He swiftly beheads him, killing him and putting out of his misery. Roy buries his captain as an act of respect before continuing his journey with Castle and others. Castle and his friends arrive at Windland Snow Mountain, where they are supposed to meet the great sorcerer Pavel. Cleo is excited to meet Pavel, who will unlock the final seal on the Holy Sword. As they are walking, they are attacked by a giant ice demon. The four together stand no chance against the demon as it overpowers them. Roy runs above the demon to attack his head. As the demon is about to step on Fry, Castle cuts off its leg and Roy quickly slices off its head, killing the demon. They walk through a strong wind, which exhausts them. The wind dies off soon, and they arrive at a log cabin. There, Fry faints from tiredness and the group decides to take a rest. That until the wind dies down, they will spend the night at the cabin. Cleo cooks for Fry as Castle thinks he is putting his friends in danger. Meanwhile, Scarlet is asked to retreat back to Orvelia, but she refuses. She says she needs to prepare for the arrival of the Dark Lord and must meet Dominicus who could help them. She is indecisive about whether to take Rahid along with her or not. Back in the cabin, Fry, seeing Castle going out of the cabin, follows him. Castle says he is haunted by a dream he doesn't understand, but Fry diverts his mind away from those thoughts. Fry faints again, and he takes her back to the cabin. Castle, early before the sunrise, leaves to continue the rest of the journey by himself as he doesn't want Fry or others to get hurt anymore. Roy catches him leaving and scolds him, saying that Fry won't forgive herself if anything happens to Castle. Roy says they are reliable on each other now, and he needs them in his journey. Cleo too shows up saying that the strong wind they were facing died because of Fry using her magic, which caused her exhaustion. Realizing that his friends have been protecting him, Castle apologizes for his brash thinking. Castle asks Fry to tell him next time she does anything like that. The Orvelian army leaves the village, as Rahid asks Scarlet how to arrive at the Tower of the Sage. Scarlet says she knows he wants to learn more about Ilia and her false sword. Scarlet agrees to go with him. Castle and his group enter an ice cave, which they think belongs to Master Pavel, but Castle is separated from his friends by a thick wall of ice that rises between them, and he comes face to face with Pavel. Within the cave, Castle introduces himself to Pavel, but instead Pavel attacks him with shards of ice. Castle requests Pavel to hear him, but he continues with his attacks. Cleo tries to break the ice wall using her fire power between them, and she succeeds. Pavel says they have passed. When Castle asks if he passed, Pavel says no, but his friends did as the Chosen One does need powerful companions by his side. Pavel explains his history with King Kyle. 100 years ago, Kyle along with Lorraine visited him, but he didn't ally with them. Kyle comes back again, but his decision is unchanged. Pavel is annoyed by Kyle and the demons, and he doesn't want anything to do with it. Infuriated at Pavel's selfishness, Lorraine leaves, and Kyle follows her too. Kyle visits him again, trying to convince him to join him, and he slowly grows fond of Kyle. Soon a demon attacks Pavel, but Kyle kills the demon easily. He joins Lorraine and Kyle on their journey to kill other demons. Kyle, during the ongoing war against the demons, requests Pavel to look after Arlette, Castle's mother. Kyle soon disappeared after his battle with the Dark Lord. A few days later, Lorraine gets into an argument with Pavel and Dominicus, who have a secret plan. To protect Arlette and her unborn child, Pavel uses his magic, placing Arlette in cryogenic animation, where she will be awakened 100 years later. Dominicus suggests this is the only way they can save Kyle's lineage, much to Lorraine's objection, but Arlette agrees to their plan to thwart the Dark Lord's evil scheme. Pavel regrets not finding a better way to secure Kyle's bloodline. Castle says he does not regret the life he has lived, is grateful to have these friends, and declares he will continue Kyle's fight against the demons and the Dark Lord. With the Blood Moon night approaching fast, Pavel decides to take Castle and his friends to the World Tree, the holiest place on the planet, where the Holy Sword EIA is sealed and they can finally retrieve it. Meanwhile, Malduk, happy about the Blood Moon, starts his ritual along with Maria to resurrect the Dark Lord back. Their ritual is successful but are shocked to find that their spell has summoned Kyle instead. Malduk and Maria are shocked to see that it's Kyle, but he reveals himself as the Dark Lord Angmund in disguise. Malduk bows down to him with Maria horrifyingly looking at the Dark Lord's face. Scarlet is ready to go to the Tower of Sage with Rahid against Demia's warnings, as Rahid isn't the same after losing his entire team. Demia is left as acting commander as Scarlet and Rahid leave for the Tower of Sage. Scarlet uses her sword to teleport both her and Rahid to the tower. Scarlet greets Dominicus, who knows she has come to ask him how to defeat the Dark Lord. He lets her know that the Dark Lord has already arrived. Rahid shows Ilia's pendant to Dominicus and demands to see Ilia's laboratory. While Reheat goes through the laboratory, Dominicus reveals to Scarlet that only Holy Sword EIA could defeat the Dark Lord, and Castle, the heir of King Kyle, is searching for that. He reveals the entire history about King Kyle and Arlette and how he and Pavel hide Castle to ensure the survival of Kyle's bloodline. Reheat furiously searches through the laboratory for the fake Holy Sword created by Ilya but finds nothing. Instead, he discovers a diary of Ilya where he learns about her technomagic knowledge. She was told by someone that the Dark Lord would defeat Lua, the goddess of light, and to stop it from happening, she started working on making an equipment. Later, she learns from Kyle's letter about the arrival of goddess Lua and her giving him a holy sword. She remembers that Leah and Lua are goddesses of darkness and light, respectively, and are sworn enemies, and their fight causes the cycle of creation and destruction. She has finally completed the equipment, and the diary finishes there as Reheat finds a drawing of the pendant, the same one he has. Angry Reheat lashes out at Dominicus for not letting out Ilya's true story. Dominicus accepts the story and admits he tried to reveal the truth, but nobody was convinced, even Dark Elves too. Reheat realizes that he himself is a descendant of Ilya, and Scarlet takes the diary to let everyone know the truth about Ilya. Hopeless, Reheat says there isn't any false holy sword, but Scarlet says the real holy sword still exists, and they still have a chance against the Dark Lord, and Castle is also on his way to wield the sword and defeat the Dark Lord. Reheat agrees to help Scarlet find Castle. Meanwhile, Pavel asks Castle not to use the power of the sword until they reach the World Tree. His friends assure him he doesn't need to, as they have his back. Demons have started attacking everywhere as Selene, Lorraine, Kaula, Dale, the Orcs, and Orvelia's knights start defending their respective villages and towns. Selene and Master Lorraine realize that the Dark Lord has been resurrected. At Castle's journey, Cleo asks Pavel how she could become more powerful to help Castle when he faces the Dark Lord, but he says he doesn't know as he wasn't with Kyle when he was fighting the Dark Lord. A Satanist was with Kyle, and he doesn't know what happened to her. Fry and Castle are soon attacked by a fly demon. But Castle, due to Pavel's warning, couldn't fight back but hides with Fry. Rio comes to his rescue and kills the fly demon. But a worm demon arrives too and tries to kill Rio, but Castle kills it without any option left. Unfortunately, Malduk senses the power of the Holy Sword and teleports himself, Maria, and the resurrected Angmund in front of them. Castle and his group are shocked to see the resurrected Dark Lord. Malduk laughs at them for being unable to stop them resurrecting the Dark Lord, starts attacking them, and Pavel defends it with his ice powers. The team engages in a fight, but Malduk overpowers them. As Rio and Castle rushes towards Malduk to attack, the Dark Lord uses his power to attack them, but Pavel takes the hit instead. This causes a landslide and Pavel, Castle, and others fall from the cliff. Maria says she will make sure they die and follow them. The group is instead saved by Maria, who asks Castle to look after Pavel. Pavel is brought to Lorraine and Selene, and Lorraine is sure to nurse Pavel back to his health using the life force of the forest. Castle informs them that the Dark Lord has been resurrected. Lorraine is feared by the arrival of the Dark Lord and the destruction he will cause, but Castle says he won't disappoint them. Late at night, Maria shows up in an attempt to speak to Castle, but Lorraine shows up too, telling Castle that Maria used to be a Satanist, worshipper of Lua. She accompanied Kyle during his journey against the Dark Lord, but no one knows why she changed sides and asks her. Maria, along with everyone, gets inside Lorraine's place. Maria says the truth is shattering. Maria recounts her early life to Castle and his friends. She used to be a devotee of Lua and was friends with Ilya and Kyle. Kyle used to train with Ilya as Maria watched them. Whenever Kyle used to get hurt, Maria used to heal his wounds. She asks Kyle to be careful, but he says she worries too much. She believed that her only purpose in life was to heal and protect him. He once gets outside the town along with her when he goes to a shop to buy bread. A girl comes saying that the bread is reserved for someone, and the baker requests him to wait for a little time as he would bake fresh bread. Kyle stays to see it's a kid for whom the bread was reserved. The girl says the kid works hard carrying bricks and only eats bread. He looks at the kid saying he would take care of the kid. The girl says that would help him, but there are many like him. Kyle says he will figure out a way to help the likes of them too. She is pleased by his thoughts and introduces herself as Arlette. He is impressed by her bold attitude and generosity. Soon they both fell in love, leaving Maria heartbroken because she was in love with him. After the king and lord rejected their relationship, Arlette disappeared, leaving Kyle drowned in sadness. Meanwhile, demons started attacking the city and Kyle led the knights into the battle to kill them. After becoming the king, he vows to defeat the demons and save everyone. She and Dominicus joined Kyle on his journey to hunt demons. Soon they were joined by other allies Master Lorraine and Pavel. Maria kept praying to Goddess Lua for Kyle's safety, but it didn't help. She advises Kyle to take a rest for a while. He agrees and rests in a tent, where a girl comes offering him water. He is stunned to find out that it's Arlette. He holds her hands and asks why she left him. She explains that she knew he was about to become king and had responsibilities and she would have got in his way. Kyle says if he couldn't protect his love, how would he protect his kingdom? He also learns that she is pregnant, and he says they should name his son Castle. Maria says with this Kyle saw a new hope, and he was presented with the Holy Sword by Lua. Kyle says he got a message from Lua about the arrival of the Dark Lord when the red ring would circle the moon. But the Holy Sword AEA would defeat him. Maria says with the Holy Sword on his hand, he became more confident, and she thanked her goddess. He along with Maria leaves to defeat the Dark Lord, as he bid farewell to Arlette, not knowing that was the last time they were seeing each other. Maria receives a letter from Ilya about the equipment she is making. Ilya lets her know that the magical equipment she made would protect Kyle and she will be reaching them soon. Malduk, follower of the Goddess of Darkness, has created a rift in dimension from where the Dark Lord would rise. The Goddess of Darkness named him Angmund. He, along with his army of undead, engages in a battle against Kyle and his army. Pavel and Lorraine ask Kyle to go to the dimensional rift to stop the Dark Lord as they would fight Malduk and his army. Kyle and Maria wish them luck as they leave. Pavel uses his ice shards towards Malduk, and he uses his magic to deflect it. Ilya, meanwhile, on her way to meet Kyle, sees an army of demons attacking a village. She manages to kill some of them and puts the villagers to the safety. A baby falls on the ground and his family tries to pick him up. A demon seeing this tries to kill it. But Ilya comes in between and gets stabbed instead, saving the kid. She kills the demon and manages to kill some more, but succumbs to her wounds and dies, holding the pendant. Meanwhile, during the battle, Maria and Kyle are inside the dimensional rift where Kyle sees the Dark Lord. He attacks it, engaging in a fierce battle. Kyle finally stabs the Dark Lord. Maria thinks Kyle has defeated the Dark Lord, but instead sees the Dark Lord vanishing and its power consumes Kyle. Before fully being consumed by the dark energy, manages to break the rift with his holy sword, says Maria to look after his child and closes the rift. Maria finds herself outside the portal along with the holy sword as Kyle remains trapped inside that dimension. Maria blames Lua, saying why didn't she help him? She suddenly remembers about Ilya's device and runs to her. She is devastated to find Ilya dead, yells at Lua for leaving them helpless. She starts to hear a voice, but it was Leah, the Goddess of Darkness. She asks her to fall in the darkness to save Kyle from the darkness. She renounces her devotion to Lua and becomes devoted to Leah. She since then has been in search of Kyle and thought if she could open the dimensional rift again to find Kyle. After hearing the story, Castle realizes she did everything to save his father. Lorraine asks her to join them in the fight against the Dark Lord. Maria tells them that isn't possible because Leah wouldn't allow her and also lets them know that King Kyle came out of the rift, surprising everyone. Maria says that he isn't Kyle anymore but is the Dark Lord. Castle asks if the person he fought on the cliff was his father, and Maria says it is. She explains that Kyle is now fully consumed by the Dark Lord, along with his consciousness. Cleo says that means Castle has to fight his own father to save the world. However, Castle says what if the Dark Lord is controlling his father, and he can still rescue him? Maria says that might not be possible but Castle believes he can save his father. His team agrees with him. Lorraine senses Pavel waking up. They all rush to look after him as Maria leaves. Fry tells Maria that Lua might have had a reason for making the Holy Sword powerless in the rift, but Maria says whatever the reason, she didn't help them, and would do the same with them too. Fry assures she will not leave Castle's side. Recovering from his injuries, Pavel says that in his current state, he won't be able to reach the World Tree. He undoes the final seal on the Holy Sword, and asks Castle to get the Holy Sword. Both the Dark Lord and Malduk senses that the sword is unsealed now. Lorraine asks Celine to go along with Castle and his teams as she will stay back to protect the forest from the demons. The group departs towards the World Tree to get the Holy Sword. Scarlet writes a letter to Chancellor Bell about what happened during her expedition to Galua Plains, how the Black Edge was single-handedly slaughtered by Malduk, and Reheat in vain unveiling his true intentions about having his revenge on Orvelia, but later thinks about keeping the secret of Reheat to herself. She resumes writing the letter by meeting Dominicus, Ilya's diary, and her true intentions in the existence of the Holy Sword. She finishes the letter by saying she will be traveling to the World Tree to get the sword. Meanwhile, Castle is taking a rest as the three girls sit together. Cleo and Fry inform Celine after their journey leaving the forest of Elidora, how they met orcs, came face to face with Malduk, Castle using the sword's power, and facing the spider demon. Celine is glad that Castle has become more confident and stronger since the last time she met him. Cleo continues the story by their encounter with Pavel and confronting the Dark Lord. Fearing that they would be overpowered by the Dark Lord, Fry says whatever happens they all will be by Castle's side. Every citizen of Revelia looks up at the sky in fear, awaiting for the rise of evil. Claus has joined the Guardian Knights under the command of Demia. Demia lets him know that they will leave once the horses are well rested. Demia also tells him about his friend, Castle, being the heir of the Holy Sword. She asks him if he knew. He nods. She asks why he didn't share this information earlier to them, as they could have helped him. He says that when he met Castle back at the Tower of the Sage, he told him about his origin and wanted to find if it's true by himself. If it's true, then he would go for the quest of the Holy Sword. Claus warned him of the danger on his quest, but Castle says he doesn't want anyone else to suffer because of the demons. He at the moment felt the sincereness of Castle. He says Demia that even though they could have helped him in his way, Castle is finding his true calling on himself without anyone's help, and only then he could become the true heir and wield the Holy Sword. Demia says now the fate of the world is on his friend's shoulder, and it's a huge burden for him to carry. Claus says Castle's childhood dream was to become a guardian knight and save the city. Everyone laughed at him, but he was always serious because he lost his mother by the hands of the demons. He always trusted him, and made up his mind that once Castle pulled up his sword, he would become his shield. Demia says the time has come to become his shield. Claus says then they must hurry then. Meanwhile, Rahit and Scarlet continue their journey towards the World Tree. Scarlet tells Rahit to be prepared once they meet Castle, to fight the Dark Lord. But Rahit says he has only one goal right now, that is to kill the demon who killed his friends. She says she is more concerned about what she found from Ilya's notes. She wonders who told Ilya that Kyle might be in danger, and if Kyle was consumed by the Dark Lord's power, will it consume Castle too once he wields the Holy Sword? Rahit says he doesn't care if history repeats. She lets him know that Malduk is the demon that killed his friends, and 100 years ago he used the undeads to fight the battle. Hearing this, Rahit is enraged, and says he will kill him with his 2 hands. On their way to the World Tree, Fry is still hopeful that the light is showing them the way, but wonders about what Maria told her, that Lua would betray them. Concerned about Castle, she says she needs to talk to Castle. Cleo with the rest of the group leaves them. Fry asks Castle if he is ready to fight his father. And even if he defeats his father, what would be his future? He says if it's true the Dark Lord is King Kyle, then it has to be him who fights him. He was scared before, but hearing his father's story from Maria inspired him to fight without hesitation, just like his father. Even if that means he needs to sacrifice himself to protect the others. Fry breaks down crying, says why would he say that? She too wants to save the world, but she won't let him sacrifice himself. She says she can't imagine a world without him. He is forgetting about the promise he made to him. He comforts Fry, says he is thankful to her and knows nothing would happen to him, because he knows she would save him. He has Rio, Cleo, Miss Celine and her by his side, and they will help him defeat the Dark Lord. Cleo sees them behind a tree as Rio tells him to stop eavesdropping. She says she can't take her eyes off them, and they need to save both of them. Celine says for her they all are a beacon of hope, and with her being on their side, they can defeat any darkness. Rahit and Scarlet finally reach the World Tree. Celine loves the surroundings of the place as they slowly move forward. She wonders if Castle and his team are already there, and Rahit notices the Holy Sword in front of him. Rahit looks at the sword and pulls it from the ground, against Scarlet's warnings. Scarlet says to let go of the sword, as it belongs to the true heir, but Rahit says he needs to avenge his friends, and wouldn't let her stop him. Unfortunately, Malduk and the Dark Lord teleport to the World Tree too. Malduk tries to enter the World Tree, but Lua's barriers don't let him. The Dark Lord breaks the barrier, causing destruction in the World Tree. The Dark Lord says he needs to regain his strength as Malduk says he would retrieve the Holy Sword. Maria sees the fight from a distance. Scarlet and Rahit are surrounded by the darkness as she wonders what happened. Rahit sees Malduk standing. Malduk laughs as Scarlet asks if he is the one who brought the darkness. He says not him, but it's the Dark Lord. Rahit rushes towards Malduk to attack him, but he dodges. He continues to evade their attacks and asks them to hand over the holy sword. Scarlet says they need to attack together, but Rahit disagrees and says he doesn't need her help. Malduk attacks Rahit as he somehow dodges his attack. He again attacks with his sword on Malduk, who blocks the attack and gloats about how terribly he killed all the Dark Elves earlier. He throws Rahit off and attacks him, as Rahit falls down. As Malduk is about to kill Rahit, Scarlet engages in a fight with him, keeping him distracted as Rahit gets an opportunity to injure Malduk. Malduk, enraged that he is hit, attacks Rahit with his magic. Rahit falls down and drops the holy sword. Malduk attacks him using his magic, but Rahit dodges his attacks and jumps on him with his own sword. As Malduk is busy looking at Rahit, Scarlet stabs him from behind. Malduk again uses his magic to hurt Scarlet, but Rahit warns her to move away as he draws his sword and beheads him, finally killing him. Malduk's body vanishes, leaving behind his skull. Unfortunately, AniMaan arrives and moves towards the fallen holy sword EIA. Scarlet, realizing this, runs for it, but the Dark Lord throws Rahit and Scarlet off. He takes the holy sword. Scarlet tries to attack him but fails. As the Dark Lord is about to kill her, she is saved by Demia, who shields her. As Claus arrives too, pushes him back. As AniMaan is about to use his magic, an arrow hits his hand. Everyone looks shocked as Castle's group has arrived there. They are prepared to face off against the Dark Lord. The final battle begins as Castle and his friends realize AniMaan has the Holy Sword EIA. Castle addresses the Dark Lord as King Kyle to wake him up, shocking Scarlet and Claus. They both engage in a fight as Castle tries to make him remember his true identity but is overpowered by the Dark Lord. Others engage in the fight against the Dark Lord but are easily defeated by him. Castle, while attacking, makes the Holy Sword fall far from the Dark Lord's hands. The group realizes EIA was actually restraining the Dark Lord's power, and without it, the Dark Lord can fully unleash his power on them. Castle grabs EIA as others are tired of getting attacked. He faces off against the Dark Lord, as Cleo tries to burn him down using her fire magic. Castle remembers every person who has inspired him and relied on him, gathering enough strength to attack the Dark Lord. The two engage in a sword fight as the Dark Lord unleashes his power to attack Castle. But Rahit takes the hit instead, falling on the ground. Maria too arrives on the battlefield, holds AniMaan using her power. Castle grabs the opportunity to stab the Dark Lord. Fry, remembering the shaman orc's words that he may be consumed by the darkness too, tries to hold the sword alongside him and confesses her love to him, but is thrown away by the power of the sword. Castle sees the pendant of Ilya flying from Rahit towards him. The pendant creates an armor around Castle, protecting him from the Dark Lord's power. With the full power of EIA, Castle finally frees Kyle from the Dark Lord's power, vanquishing it. A weakened Kyle wakes up to see his son. Kyle says to Maria that Lua actually kept her promise and made Castle his true heir. He bids goodbye to Castle, saying he loves him and his soul finally departs to the afterlife. Maria is thankful to Castle for saving Kyle's soul and she leaves with a heavy heart. With the battle over, Cleo hugs Castle for saving them as everyone is happy that they are finally victorious against the Dark Lord. Everyone in the city is relieved as the sky gets clear. In the aftermath of the battle, Scarlet reports that the demonic activity has decreased significantly. She is now making an effort to bring peace between Orvelia and the Dark Elves, much opposed to the Elder Counselors. She also offers Rahit a noble title and asks him to join Guardian Knights. But he requests some time to meet the other elves to reveal the truth about Ilya before he makes a decision. He says he now trusts Scarlet, that she will make the world a better place, and leaves. Castle is now a Guardian Knight, no longer an apprentice under Claus. He is stationed at Orvelia, but Castle says the Holy Sword is telling him that more danger is arriving and he needs to be there. Fry says she will join him too. Rahit, while leaving Orvelia, gives his pendant to Castle, while he is thankful to Rahit. Castle and Fry are on their way as Cleo and Roy join them too. Rahit also reunites with Ripon, who has survived Malduk's attack, and Castle and his friends have begun another journey together.